And we are live. This is the Redneck Tech Podcast live stream, episode 95, the 5 things that will make your hunting, filming better. We're not going to jump right into the podcast yet. We're going to hang out here, see if any of our loyal followers jump on, want to hang out, have some questions. We told them yesterday to bring questions, so we'll see who the real ones are.
I'm fully aware the bottoms of my shoes are dirty because we just shot interviews and it was muddy. And I walked in here,
full shoes off.
I'm going full shoes off, so nobody will make fun of my shoes.
I think, did we switch? We may need to switch back headphones because this is loud.
I'll turn you down, not turn me up. Turn you down, turn me, nope. That's the one I want. And I'll turn you down. I don't know why you like yours so low. Is that better?
I just like to be able to hear that there's audio coming through. Because once we have the levels, I mean, you're doing the levels, so I just need to hear that there's levels.
Yeah, we got levels. We're good on levels. I just like to have mine loud. That way if I hear clipping, I hear clipping.
We have 0 concurrent viewers. We're so popular.
Come on, man.
So popular.
Hate you guys so much.
I gave them a 5-minute warning this time. I mean, I gave them more than that. Did an announcement yesterday evening.
How'd you get the little thing to do that?
Which thing?
That.
Countdown? Oh, that's just some Instagram magic.
Mm.
You wouldn't know about that. If you are hopping on, say hey in the chat. God, I hate saying this. I just feel like I'm one of those live game streamers, and I'm just trying to get people to comment. But I actually want to know who's on, so that I can talk to y'all. Because that's the point of this live, so that we can talk to you guys while we do the podcast, make it interactive, engage with the audience. Makes us feel like we're talking to people too, which helps, instead of just blowing hot air. Are you watching it on your phone?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Do I need to be?
No. I was just wondering.
When is SpyPoint going to put up the new turkey? Oh, you haven't fixed it yet.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
This is pretty good lukewarm.
Hold on.
I didn't have time to put it in. I need to put them in the refrigerator.
I really wish I had something to drink. I forgot completely about getting something to drink for this.
You could get it right now.
We don't have it. There's nothing here.
Don't you have those little water packets that you put in the water?
Oh, yeah. I have that.
You get that. Make it healthy.
I'm cool. I'm good.
Let me pull up the notes.
It's literally 6 bullet points. We're just going to ramble.
I'm good at that.
Well, we're going to use some experiences you and I have had the last 2 weeks of editing someone else's footage as a lot of the fuel for this fire.
So basically, the last 2 episodes have been fueled by us being angry at something.
Yeah.
There we go. You know what? Tired of this. Make a podcast.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I had actually wrote the podcast notes before this happened, so Jared Comstock, Red Forest, put it on there. Oh, no, he just commented on the other podcast that we did. 6 minutes in, this is getting interesting in the fact that Caleb said Rye Reporter name a little weird at about 6 minutes. What?
I mean, I do have a weird name. So even if you say it regular, it still sounds weird.
Well, I could have called you Ryerstein because I do that sometimes.
Yeah, we go back and forth between Ryerstein and Red Velvet.
I don't remember.
I don't even know where Ryerstein came from. It just happened one day.
Yeah, I don't. Well, Chuck calls me Steen sometimes.
Just Steen?
Yeah, and I guess I'd added Ryerstein. I don't know.
You notice what Instagram did with the usernames? Now you don't see people's usernames in your DM message inbox. You see their actual names. Isn't that weird?
I just now noticed that you said that. Why did they do that?
Because it should be Red Forest Outdoors is what it should be.
Yeah, but it's Jared Forest Comstock.
Yeah. I don't know why they did that.
I don't either.
And it's annoying because there's a bunch of people who I knew their usernames.
Yeah.
And then you get a message from them And you go, wait, I mean, I know who this is, but that's not your username. What happened? Why did everybody change their usernames to be boring and only their names?
Yeah.
And it's not the case. Like, you can still look somebody up by their regular Instagram username that they've had, but it doesn't show up like that when you're messaging them.
I had a good question that we can answer on this one too.
Devin, good afternoon.
I was literally just looking at his message. Devin, I haven't sent you your hat yet. I'm still working on it. I got to send him a hat. He sent me his address, and I haven't sent it yet. I'm a terrible person.
We've been running around like chickens with our heads cut off with edits.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I've got to.
Wait for what, Jared? He says wait. We have to wait. I don't know. Wait for what?
Just be real quiet.
What are we waiting for? I just missed something here. We were talking about you. Were your ears burning? We were talking about
Jared.
How you
Jared
just
said wait.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I told
you
him
just mentioned us in your story, and then we were talking about how Instagram has changed that instead of showing your actual Instagram handle, your actual @ it shows your name, which is weird now because there's people who I knew their Instagram handle, and so then you see their name and it just looks funny.
So the way we're going to start this podcast is we're going to start it with a question that I got a couple days ago. We'll open it up for questions while people are on there, and then maybe they'll give us some while we talk about the regular podcast. Then we'll do the live Q&A at the end. Thoughts?
I don't think.
What good are you?
I operate purely on instinct.
Oh, man.
I'm Jason Bourne.
But we did find out where you
should... Oh, no, it's Jason Bourne.
Yeah. We found out where you should probably be exercising, though, didn't we?
We did. But that would mean I'd have to run, and I hate running.
Well, it sounds like you'd have to do it in the middle of the day, too, because apparently nobody does anything anymore.
I don't think people know that the middle of the day is the worst time to do anything outside, because that's the only time people ever go. Like, people, I don't think, unless you're really into outdoorsy things, I don't think people wake up and go outdoors in the right before it gets light out or stay out. I mean, some people probably stay out, I guess, when it's getting dark, but
usually everybody's headed back when it gets dark, though.
Yeah, and those are the best times to be engaged in physical activity outside, because that's always the coolest. Yeah, the morning's better than the evening because the morning usually isn't windy. The evening can be windy.
Well, I tried to hike our trail here. You know the trail that you hike? I've tried to do it with a pack on middle of the day in the summer before. Terrible idea.
I was just out there taking pictures at...
Did you carry any weight with you?
No. Why would I do that? I'm taking pictures.
Come on.
If we're being honest, do you know how far I got into that trail?
You didn't tell me this.
I didn't go that far. I went to that little bridge crossing, and I took 90% of the pictures right there. I set my backpack. I set my backpack on that bench, and I took all the knives out, and I just walked around that little area. The log pictures were there. The river pictures were there. So the pictures where I was holding it was there.
You didn't even walk a mile.
No. But in my defense, I did ride my bike 38 miles up and down the hills. So I didn't need to get the exercise.
But see, that's a great podcast, though. Is like people think that you just got to hump it to do all this crap. No. If you know what you're doing, you can make a nice shady spot, whatever you want to make it.
I did it 2 spots.
Yeah.
And there's I guess there's like 5 different settings for those knives.
Yeah.
But I had the one where they were in the ground. Then I had the one where they're all on the water. And I had one where they're on the log. I had another one where they're like all stuck in the top of a post. Another one I was just holding them. Another one with my backpack leaned up against a tree. All within 50 yards of each other. Well, probably 15 yards.
Genius. Pure genius.
What can I say? Blood Mountain early in the morning, and legs were on fire the next day.
Who's that?
That's Jared.
Oh, Jared. I was like, who? I was thinking,
or is Blood Mountain around here?
Yeah, Blood Mountain's a pretty stiff trail.
Where?
There's a ton of trails around here, dude.
We had a mountain.
Preacher's Rock. There's, whole sections of the AT you can go on. There's the little trail here. There's all the gaps. I mean, there's.
What's up with the Trail of Tears? Going around here.
You don't know what the Trail of Tears is?
I know what the Trail of Tears is, but they have it marked. It's an interesting thing to have marked.
We are conscious of our past.
Yeah. I just see it because there's a couple roads out.
Yeah, the 52.
That I ride.
A lot of 52. Yeah, a lot of 52s like part of the what you want to call it, the Trail of Tears Highway or whatever.
Devin says work smarter, not harder. Exactly.
Yeah.
I already done my hard work for the day. I didn't need to be going hiking around all the place to take some pictures, because then it takes more time to hike than you taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't put weight in my pack for that. I had some water.
So are we ready to podcast?
We are. So for the people who are on the YouTube live stream, tell us, Caleb, what your plan is for the podcast.
I've got a question. I got a question that Tony wrote in. 330 with a bow. Tony, I would butcher your last name. Sangialassi. Sangialassi. I think it's 330 with a bow. He's one of the loyal followers and listeners.
I'm pretty okay, yeah.
Do you know how to say that?
I'm going to try. No, I don't.
Okay, good. He wrote in a question and he wanted a whole podcast about it. I don't know if I could...
Sangiolosi. Sangiolosi?
Sangiolosi? Maybe. There's nobody...
When you listen to us, please tell us if we're butchering it. And then send us like how to say it, because now I want to know. Because
there's no one around here with that last name. So I couldn't even start. It sounds Italian.
It does.
But anyway...
Maybe you got to do a little bit of this with it.
He wrote in a question that he wanted to do a podcast about. I can't really do a whole podcast about it, but we can definitely talk about it. So we'll open the podcast with that. Then we'll open it up to any more questions, and we'll do a live Q&A, which is kind of quite crazy. We're going to do a live Q&A 2 days in a row. So I guess if nobody can think of any questions, they can give us one tomorrow, because we're going to do an Instagram live tomorrow.
If you're here on the stream right now, you have to give us one question. I don't care what the question is. You have to give us one question. Surely you can think of one question to ask Caleb or I. Something. Anything.
So that's how we're going to start the podcast. So be thinking about your questions, I guess. So I guess we're going to go ahead and start the live podcast. You good with that?
I'm good.
All right. Let's do this thing.
The Redneck Tech Podcast is brought to you by Diamondback Covers, the absolute best cover you could ever spend your money on. If you need an insurance policy for all the expensive gear on the back of your truck, then you need a Diamondback cover. Make the bed of your truck a vault with Diamondback.
Right here. Yeah. You want it? Yeah. And we are back, and we are live on YouTube. For those of you that don't watch us on YouTube, you're missing out, because we do a full-blown intro with people that are watching live. We answer questions. We do all that fun stuff, and we're going to do that after the podcast as well, after the podcast is over. If you're just a listener, you can't get in on that, so or just a audio listener, not a video watcher and listener. But the way we're going to start this podcast is going to be 5 ways to make your hunting filming better. But the way that we're going to start it is we're going to start it with a question that we got the other day that was from our buddy Tony, who is 330 with a bow on Instagram. And he gave us a podcast topic, but honestly, I can't make a whole podcast out of this. So what we're going to do is, before we start the main podcast, we are going to answer this question, or I'm going to try and answer this question to the best of my ability. Before we get into the meat of the podcast. So while we answer this question, if you're on the YouTube live, if you have any questions, answer it, and we'll answer those at the end of the podcast, and then we'll do a little live Q&A afterwards if anybody's still stuck around. But anyway, so he sent a question in the other day, and it said, I'm going to my first outfitter in Indiana at the beginning of November. Kind of what to expect from a hunter side and a camera guy side. I know it sounds stupid, but for guys that have never been, I'm a little nervous for some reason. Okay, so it sounds like he's going on his first outfitted hunt. And I've had wonderful things happen from outfitters, and I've had 1 or 2 horrible, terrible, atrocious things. the best advice I can give you as far as going on an outfitted hunt in terms of just, on the surface and in general is you need to, first of all, you need to get references from people that have hunted there before. But make sure you get references from people that have been there and been successful and people that have been there and not been successful. Because if you get good reviews from people that were not successful, you're probably going to have a good time and you're going to have a good hunt. Just remember to do your research. Make sure that you're going there with the intentions of having a good time and not making sure you're going to kill something. Because I've been to a lot of outfitters filming and hunting and not kill anything. It happens. It's part of life. It's why it's called hunting and not killing. But in terms of what you should ask for on the hunter side and the cameraman side, make sure they know you're filming. Make sure they understand that. Find out what you might need to bring in terms of extra stands, extra ground blind, trail cameras, things of that nature that they probably aren't going to provide for you. If they'll hang them before you get there, great. If not, you're just going to have to take the extra time before daylight and after dark to hang those stands and make sure you have all the places set for when you get there. As far as that goes, there's not a whole lot you can do. You're kind of at their mercy. Make sure they're comfortable with you filming. Ask if there's things that are off limits. Make sure they're okay with, saying location names, road names, cities, states, all that good stuff. Because some people are really weird about not wanting people to know where they are. I would even go as far as, just to protect yourself, get releases. There's several places online you can find a release to sign off and get location permission, get people permission. Don't film kids because people get really weird about putting kids on camera when they're not, when they don't have permission. Just make sure you cover your butt in terms of that kind of stuff. And as far as the hunt itself, just the goal always needs to be making sure you're one of the guys that people want to be around. Don't be in people's face. Don't be an eyesore or a nuisance. Try and be as low key as you possibly can be. And under promise and over deliver. If you're working out a deal to where you're trading out services, make sure you fulfill your end of the bargain. There's been a lot of people that have not held up their end of the bargain, but hold on a second. There's been a lot of people that haven't held up their end of the bargain, and it's given a lot of it's put a really bad taste in a lot of outfitters' mouths in terms of camera guys. So just remember that going in. Sorry, I've got a client that is asking me questions, and you guys know how I am about communication. I'm not going to let them wait until the end of the podcast. I'm going to answer them right now. So anyway, I hope I answered that. I hope I answered that question.
I would say the only other thing is just to make sure they know that you're planning on filming it.
Yeah.
And seeing if they have setups specifically for that, or if they can make setups specifically for that, and that way at least they know going into it kind of what you're looking to do, especially if you're going to have, two people out there. If it's going to be you and a hunter, it's always good to kind of let them know that they're going to have two people to get into the blind or into the tree or here, there, or wherever.
Yeah.
So.
And I would say the amount of people that film now is a lot. So I wouldn't venture to guess that there's many outfitters out there that haven't dealt with some sort of filming in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So they probably understand what you're trying to do. Make sure they know where it's going to go. Make sure you send them a link to things when it's done. Just be a good person. It's really easy. It's not that hard. That's really the only it's really the only notes that I can give. As far as hunting with outfitters. Hunting with outfitters can be great and it can be awful. Man, I've had some awful experiences with outfitters that are just complete buttholes, man. That completely lie to you. All they do is want your money and want you out of there. They don't want you to kill anything. They just want you to give you their money. And that is, I mean, it couldn't be any truer in the sense of the word of just completely screwing people. We had one in Ohio that's particularly bad. I can't tell that story on this podcast because this podcast, some kids listen to this, but it was a real bad deal. Whitetail Outfitters of Ohio. This guy's name is Ty McComb. If you know him, I'm sorry. Guy's a piece of crap. Anyway, so on to the podcast. So 5 things that will make your hunting filming better. We've done a couple of these themed podcasts here recently, just some things that we wanted to talk about that Ryer and I have started. We're doing a television project, a big 13-episode television project that several different producers have filmed. Ryer filmed some of them, I filmed some of them, and 2 or 3 other producers have filmed some of them. And we are now in the process of editing those shows, some of which we filmed, some of which we didn't film. And this is a very universal theme of these things can make your filming better, because we're ending up watching and editing stuff that was handed to us that we had no control over, that there's a lot of things lacking, and that has really frustrated us in the last 2 weeks of editing, to where there's things that the producers are doing that are making our job harder on the editing side. And it's making the shows not as good as they could be. And I don't want to get into the specifics just yet. I kind of want to make sure we kind of go piece by piece by piece on the bullet points on this. But I mean, you were sitting in there today editing the same. So we've got 2 Texas shows. There's a Texas 1 and a Texas 2. I edited Texas 1. You're editing Texas 2. And the same producer shot all of mine and part of yours. So you're running into some of the same walls that I ran into, to where there's things that aren't being done that are really, really easy things that would make the filming or the production and the edit so much better. So I kind of wanted to go over some of these simple things. And I know we've probably talked about these 1,000 times, but I'm hoping when new people come in, they hear these things, they'll look them up and they'll listen to old podcasts and they'll start putting things together. But, you know, the number one thing, I wouldn't say that it's the number one thing. It's one of the things that I'm noticing that we're never getting from someone else other than us is establishing shots. And we've talked about establishing shots before, and they're super easy to get. They can be really dynamic. They can be super, super cinematic. There's 100 different ways to get them. Or they can literally be as simple as walking out in the yard and shooting a big shot of the house that you're staying in, or the lodge that you're staying at, or the camper, or the camp, you know. And that's really all it is a shot that establishes where you are in a time of day. Lots of times people get established shots early in the morning or virtually in the dark using the lights of the house, lights of the lodge, campfire light, whatever. That establishes a time of day and a location. That shot tells me, that gives me a ton of information as a viewer and as an editor. It helps me transition. Establishing shots can be used for so many different things. It helps me transition from days to nights. It helps me transition from one day to the next day. It helps me transition from the field to the camp. It helps me transition from camp to the field. It does so much from one simple shot of walking 50 yards away, putting your camera on your shoulder, and getting a big wide shot of your camp or your house or your lodge or your truck or your camper or your tent. Doesn't matter. I'm not getting those. I'm not seeing any of them. I had to go back to footage from 2 years ago to get those shots. The producer 2 years ago got it. Got every one of them. Every location, every place, everything. He got it. Luckily, they're at the same outfitter and I can use the same shots. But, I mean, how do you go about it? Is it just one of those things to where when you see a new location, you just automatically walk out there and get it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just kind of I see establishing shots in a few different ways, because not only do you want to establish a location, like you said, you want to establish the time of day or the conditions. So to me, I may get 3 different establishing shots in one sit. Like a lot of times I will, when I first get to a spot, depending on the light and stuff like that, as soon as it starts getting light enough for me to start making out things in the camera, I'll get some establishing shots. Because to me, I mean, you never know when the animal's going to come in and when that is going to take place. And that early morning light is always the hardest to recreate. So I always get just an establishing shot as soon as I can start seeing things. So that way,
you're talking about establishing shots in the field on the hunt. I haven't even talked about that yet.
Oh,
but
okay.
no, you're good. Go into that. I mean, it's same. I mean, it's establishing shots.
You're talking about location.
I'm talking
so
about
we
locations.
Get to the outfitter. Yeah. Or we get to the camp.
I'm talking about locations like the actual camp.
Yeah. I mean, when you roll up, you just look there, and I mean, sometimes it's stopping the vehicle and saying, "Hey, let me get out. Let me get you driving into the parking lot or into the driveway, or let me get you walking in, and then getting a nice wide shot outside, or
get it with and without someone walking in.
Yeah, or get a low angle, get a wide angle, get a pan down, get a pan over.
Mm-hmm.
I usually get one static, and then I try to have one moving in some way, because it's just sometimes more interesting that way.
Yeah, I like moving.
Unless there's things moving, like if it's windy, or there's a flag moving, or there's something driving into there, sometimes a stable shot is cool. But just my style, I like to have some kind of movement in the shot. And then, yeah, I mean, you get that real quick. Or maybe you don't get that and you have to go back and get it. Maybe you roll up, your host jumps out of the truck, and you go, oh, crap, got to follow him in now. So you go do all that stuff, and you follow him in. He says hi to everybody and does that whole thing. And then afterwards you go, okay, now I got to establish this place. So you get those shots of the location. And then you go and you get less specific shots, but things that kind of tell somebody where you're at in a it's not tied to like a building, right? So
like if you're in Arizona, you get shots of a cactus. If you're in Texas, you get shots of a cactus.
Also cactus, just different cactus.
If you're in Missouri, you get shots of hardwood trees. You get shots of creek bottoms. You get, things that lock you into a location, but also help you.
And tell you the time of year, and tell you if it's snowing, get some snow on the ground. If it's raining, get some rain going. If it's hot, get something that makes it look like it's hot. I mean, get it so where you can see the sun and it just looks hot and dry. Or if it's cold, just trying to give people an idea of exactly where you're at.
You're trying to suck people in
without, like, you almost want to take, whenever you start telling somebody a story of something, you'd be like, hey, we rolled up to, that's hosty talk right there. So if I was going to tell, that's how hosts talk. If I was going to tell Caleb what I did on a turkey hunt, I would say, see, I feel like I need to talk like a host right now, because I've got that in my head right now. I would say that me and Brian, we drove from my house in Georgia, and we drove out to Missouri, and we got to the camp, and this is really bad. I did a bad job of that. Basically what you want to do is think of, like, if I was going to tell somebody and really try to make a good story out of this, what you would tell them, and try to get shots that tell that story without you having to actually say it.
We left Georgia, we drove to Missouri, and when we got to camp, we talked to the outfitter. After we got done talking to the outfitter, we got our gear unloaded and we went straight to the field. Well, I need footage to support everything I just said, and then I need to get shots of the outside. I need to get shots of pulling up, shaking hands to the outfitter, the weather, the time of year. We know we're turkey hunting. We want to see green and leaves and fields and driving shots and all of the things. We need those things.
I guess I did a bad job of that, because I think that sometimes when you just regularly tell somebody a story, usually they don't care. They're like, well, so when did you see the turkeys?
Yeah.
And then that's where you start the story.
Yeah.
But videos, you start
beginning, middle, end.
You start from zero. So yeah, that's just what I always think of. And I always like to not only an establishing shot, I like to get a bookend shot, which is another establishing shot. And you, depending on how much time has passed between the start of the scene and the end of the scene, they could be literal. They could look basically the same. But I want a shot that when you start a scene or you get somewhere, that's your establishing shot, and that gets you into the scene. And then when you are about to get out of the scene, you want to pull somebody out of wherever you just had them, wherever you were just showing them, and then basically give it like a little break so then you can go to the next one. So for me, sometimes that's like if we're eating dinner or something and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to have to end the dinner scene sometimes. So then I walk out of the house and I get a wide shot of the house in the dark with the lights on and everybody eating dinner. And then that's your end shot. And then you pan up and maybe it's black. Maybe you pan over. Maybe you just get a shot of people from the outside eating. But that way you're creating you're pulling somebody out of the scene they were just in. So then you can do another establishing shot for the next scene and put them into the next scene that you're going into.
And all that's subconscious. All that has been ingrained in us from media and content and movies for 1,000 years. Subconsciously, that takes us out of the scene. Subconsciously, that puts us in a scene. It puts us in a location. Puts us in a time of year and a frame of mind. Establishing shots are super, super easy. Anything that you watch, I guarantee you, has establishing shots. They're super easy to get. Take the time to get them.
Well, and those are the shots, too, that you're going to underlay that talking in when you got that establishing shot, and then you've got the host talking about where they're at. You underlay that, and now you bring people in, and then, your music starts there, and you go through the scene, and then you've got that ending shot that, I don't know, what do you call it, a bookend shot, and that's where, maybe they talk, and then you put that over it, and they're still talking, and it's showing it, and then your music fades out, and then it's still that shot, and then now it's that subconscious cue that, okay, this scene is done, we're letting the viewer rest a little bit, and then they're ready to go into the next scene.
It's the ebb and flow of an edit, the roller coaster ride, speed up and the slow down. And then when you talk about establishing shots in the field, the first thing that I get, kind of like what Robert was saying, he was alluding to earlier, when I get in a tree stand, when I get in a ground blind, when I get in a setup, the first thing or something that I always get is just a big wide pan of what we're sitting there looking at, what the hunter's seeing, what the camera's seeing, just a big panning shot of the location. And that establishes where we are, what it looks like, where the animals are going to come from, what the scene looks like. I'm setting the stage for the viewer. And I'm putting you in the place. And then it's the same thing to end the scene. You kind of bookend it with a couple of different things. You can bookend it with a closing interview. You can bookend it with the music. Sometimes the music will bookend it for you. But it is something that's so simple. And I even showed you guys, if you've watched the Instagram, we've got a tutorial on how to get super smooth pans. It's really, really, really difficult. No, it's not. It's super easy. But anyway, that's the establishing shot, and that's the importance of the establishing shot. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is,
I think, just to add to that real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
What I was saying earlier is I want to get an establishing shot for almost any new situation that happens.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there could be 4 separate things that happen in the blind that I want to get establishing shots of. So when we first get there, I want to get some because just in case the deer or whatever we're hunting comes in really low light, I have stuff. Then whenever we start to get good light and the scene starts changing, I want to get an establishing shot of that. So maybe if I want to pick up right there in the edit, I can. And then when animals start coming in, I like to have a wide shot of the whole scene with the animals coming in, and then you work into your tights and stuff like that. If it starts raining, if it starts snowing, if the wind starts blowing really hard, if you have to do this or that or the other, every single time something happens, something that would be something that you would want to tell in the edit, you want an establishing shot, something to show what that is that's happening.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you can break it down to like when you park the Ranger, to go hunting, you can back way out and get an establishing shot of parking the Ranger. I mean, you can get an establishing shot of virtually everything. You can start and end a scene with establishing shots every single time if you wanted to. Now, does it get monotonous? It get old? Yeah. But that is definitely possible. All right, so the next thing is talking in the field. And I know y'all love when we talk about this because I harp on this one a lot. So I'm going to break this one down even simpler. Most of you, or most of viewers, most of content is not getting a good job of people talking in the field. The easiest way to do that is every chance you get, ask the question who, what, when, where, why, and whether. Now, I've harped on that one enough. I'm not going to go into detail with that. Now what I'm talking about is how and why we shoot. How we shoot talking in the field. You don't shoot talking in the field medium all the time. Ryer and I have been dealing with this on an edit where everything we're getting of our host looks exactly the same. Everything is like belly button to the top of the head. Everything looks the same. Absolutely none of the talking is produced well. It's not shot very dynamically. It's lazy. How do you shoot talking dynamically? Like, what are some things that you do to make talking a little more creative?
I know the one tip that I have used that you told me a little while ago is move.
Yeah.
So when somebody is talking, I just kind of do like that with the camera. If you're listening, you can't see, but I just kind of sway back and forth. I try to keep them in generally the same place in the frame, but I'm just moving the camera just a little bit. I'm kind of flowing with them.
Think about me talking to you right now. Am I like holding onto the chair and like trying not to move as I'm talking?
You shouldn't.
Like that's awkward.
That looks weird.
Yeah, it is. And it's the same thing as it's the same thing as a viewer. If you're used to talking to somebody and your eyes have a natural movement, your head has a natural movement, your body has a natural movement, so does your camera work. A lot of times in big productions, they add movement to cameras. They'll actually go in and add camera shake to make it feel more natural. And that's the way your eyes work. Our eyes work in around 24 frames a second is what scientists say. And we're used to movement. We're used to seeing motion blur. We're used to seeing what our eyes and our brain are accustomed to seeing. So don't lock your camera down all the time. Now there are times when you need to lock down. There are situations for that. But when we're shooting B-roll, when we're shooting cutaways, when we're shooting talking, when we're shooting, 90% of what we're shooting, it's going to have some sort of movement. It's either going to have really smooth motion or it's going to have a natural sway or shake of the camera. I like to shoot a lot more stuff than I used to handheld. I try and keep things off a tripod unless it's interviews or hunts. I like having kill shots and hunts on tripods and camera arms just because I want those to be nice and smooth. And I don't want to react to the shot, which I don't react to the shot. I know a lot of producers that react to the shot really bad. I'm one of those guys that can have a rifle go off right next to me and I won't flinch. But I know a lot of people that come out of their shoes, so it's really important to have a tripod for things like that or a camera arm. But when you're shooting cutaways, when you're shooting B-roll, don't stick your camera on a tripod and get the shooting that way or get the talking that way. When you're shooting your cutaways, it's okay to be on a tripod, but don't be afraid to add movement, add slow pushes, slow turns. And these need to be slow and subtle. I mean, it's not like this isn't your pan. I mean, these things are super, super subtle and gentle and cinematic, and they're just going to add that little bit that's going to suck your viewer in or make them feel more comfortable. Like when I was watching these shots of the host, and every one of them were framed like this. If you're not watching on YouTube, I'm literally the top of my head, my belly button. Everything was framed like that, locked down on a tripod. And you can literally go in the clips and you could put them in the preview mode where you could see the thumbnails, and every clip would look the same. He never changed his angle. He never pushed in. He never backed up wide. A lot of times when I'm shooting talking, I'm shooting here, and then I'll have a second angle that's wide, or sometimes like Ryer will even shoot it twice. Like, explain to me how you do it twice.
So I have 2 separate methods here, and it kind of depends on how much time.
This is shooting talking.
Yeah, and it depends on how much time and what we're doing. But, there's 3 methods. If I have to be locked down on a tripod, usually that means we're set somewhere, and I will have a GoPro.
Yeah.
And we'll have 2 angles. So I'll have my wide, and then I'll have my camera, and that'll be close. So we got 2 angles. So even if I can't move, even if I can't really put that dynamic movement in there, because that flowy movement is hard to do on a tripod, at least I've got 2 angles, and I can cut back and forth. And then you've got B-roll, what you put in there.
You're supposed to have B-roll.
So then,
talk about that in a minute.
So then the second, I'll talk about what you wanted me to talk about, is I will shoot the interviews twice. And this is something that I learned this is probably one of the first things I learned on the job. I guess I could call this the Larry Jones trick. Larry D. Jones, he's a legend. And he taught me this one, and it is basically, so we'll go through and we'll do the interview, and I'll be handheld, and I'll ask all the questions.
So we can walk through it. So I'll do it. I'll be your subject. So you're filming, and you'll film something kind of medium wide.
Yeah. So I'll ask you, okay, what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
Where are we? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Who, what, when, where, why, and
Yeah.
whether. All the big W's.
So
I'm filmed. I don't really do a whole ton here. I kind of like the bottom of the chest to the top of the head.
Yeah, me too.
And so we'll go through all of those things.
So I'll give
just
you
like that.
I'll give you that. So we're in Copeland Creative Studio.
And I'm moving.
We're in Copeland Creative
This is my
Studio.
camera.
We're recording
Show you
episode
the camera like this.
You're not supposed to be talking when I'm talking. So we're in Copeland Creative Studio, and we are producing episode 95 of the podcast here in Dahlonega, Georgia. It is a beautiful day outside. It's a little hot. I don't like the hot. Just heard a bird chirp, and we are live on YouTube at the moment. So you just shot that.
I just shot that wide. Now what I'll do is go, okay, we're going to do it again. Now I punch in.
To real time.
Now I'm going to be face, only the face.
And you're going to move your angle.
And, yeah, I'll kind of shift around. It just depends on what I'm able to do.
And what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it look like there's 2 cameramen.
Yeah, and then I'll say, hey, generally say the same thing that you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people are like, oh, man, I can't remember. I said, just hit the big points.
Mm-hmm.
Just hit the big points. Tell me where we're at, this, that, and the other. Most of the time, people can do it. Sometimes you got to walk them through.
Yeah.
But basically what I'm doing now is you go through all the same things again. My angle is different. And what I then can do in editing is I take both those things and I intercut them together. It's a little bit more work. Sometimes they don't line up correctly. Sometimes they don't match because the people say this, that, or the other. But if you get both of them, then you have a different angle that you can cut to. You're basically faking 2 cameras, like you said.
It's a budget 2-man production.
Yeah, and it just takes
a little extra time.
Twice as much time.
Yeah.
And so that's when I know that I have the time to do that.
Yep.
And I like to do that a lot. You'll see me do that a lot, and you'll notice it in the edits if you see that. And then the next thing that I do, and this is the quick and dirty on the run one, is if you watched through any of my interviews with people, you'll see that I'm constantly doing this with the Zoom. I punch in as soon as somebody kind of starts to end their sentence and I find a pause, I punch in, pull focus. And so then their next thought, the next phrase is going to be closer. Then when they finish that one, I pull out, pull focus. And then their next phrase is wide. Punch in, pull focus. Punch out, pull focus. And I do that the whole time they're talking. Now it's a little bit, I've got myself in trouble doing that because sometimes you'll punch in or pull out when they talk. So you'll punch in and pull out on a word and you get to the edit and you're like, gosh darn it, I really want that. And so sometimes you might have to live with a punch in or a pull out, which
or
before
just shoot lots of B-roll.
Yeah, so you either cover that with B-roll or you just leave it in the edit, and I've done that, and I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it either.
But that's a really easy way to be getting a very dynamic talking segment, and you'll see on like big budget documentaries, people are doing that. That's what the camera guys are doing. That's what the producers are doing. They're
stem.
just punch in, punch out, punch in, punch out, reframe this, reframe that. That's what she said. I knew somebody was going to come. As soon as I said that, as soon as I said it, I was like,
I almost said it.
We won't do it. I'm not going to do it. You won't bait me into that. I'm smarter than that. So yeah, I'm always punching in, punching out. And then the other thing that I've liked to do now, and this is harder, and that's trying to tie an establishing shot to an interview. And that's where, or maybe not an establishing shot, but just a shot to where maybe there's a cool sky or a cool mountain vista, and you can frame that up nice, and then you have your subject standing there, and you pan down to them, and as you're panning down, they start talking. And I've done that a few times, and I like how that works. Panning from their hands up to their face as they're talking, or having them doing something, and then while they're doing it, talking to you, and then they move into the interview. So it doesn't seem like, it makes it seem a little bit more natural, because that's generally how you talk to people. Usually when you're talking to people, you're not like doing something and then you go, well, Caleb, I was just typing on my computer.
Yeah, that's all.
You would just be like, oh yeah, I'm just writing this message I'm writing this message to somebody right now. And then, okay, now we're in the conversation. Yep. But you were doing something, you started talking, and then you refocused, and now you're talking to somebody else. And so I like to try to get that. It's tough sometimes, and I would say a third of the time it works out.
Yeah. Well, moral of the story is don't be lazy when you're shooting talking. First of all, get the talking. I'd rather you get the talking and it be boring than not get the talking. Second of all, when you're getting the talking, try not to make it boring. Ryer just went over 3 really, really easy ways to make it not boring.
And I think also, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Go ahead.
I think also, if you get the B-roll, you can mess around with that stuff.
Yeah, we're getting there. You're getting ahead of us. We're getting ahead of, don't talk about
I'm just saying, because 2 of those methods I just talked about right there, you will mess it up, and you will need to cover it with B-roll. 100%. You're going to screw it up, and you're going to get to the edit, and you're going to be like, yeah, so that sucked. That was bad. That didn't work out. The timing was bad. I don't like how this went. I punched in there. I need to cover this. I don't like it.
So perfect. Just to cover this. So we're gonna skip around. We're gonna skip around to now B-roll.
Storrel of the Moray, 8th and Tyne. Did you say that?
No, did I?
You must have.
Maybe I did.
We can't catch a break now. Yeah, everything we say.
So anyway, we're gonna go out of order, but the next one we're gonna talk about is B-roll. A lot of times in the edits, especially the edits we're working on right now, we do not have enough. All right. B-roll, there should never be a shortage of B-roll. And B-roll is another thing that's just like talking that can be boring if you just shoot static shots. B-roll needs movement. B-roll needs pans. B-roll needs rack focus. B-roll needs lots of it. And as much talking as you get, you've got to have as much B-roll to cover up that talking, to fix edits, to hide ums and ahs, to cut out whole sections of talking that you don't want. B-roll is something that I just don't see how it can get overlooked, especially when you're on a hunting trip and you're sitting in a tree stand or a ground blind for hours on end, how you're not getting the B-roll. But the shows that we're working on right now, we don't have the B-roll to support. There's talking, there's no B-roll. There's shots of animals, there's medium shots of the hunter, and that is it. We might get 2 or 3 shots of B-roll per hunt. And I'm getting, on average, 20 to 30 on a hunt. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
So when we say B-roll, what do we mean? Okay, to define that, to dumb it down even more. So we're going to go back to what I said. We're here at Copeland Creative. We're recording episode 95 of the podcast. We're talking about 5 ways to make your hunting filming better. It's a beautiful day here in Dahlonega, Georgia, and we are live on YouTube right now. That's the interview that you just filmed. Okay. What B-roll?
With both my fake camera angles.
Both your fake camera angles. So now what B-roll do you need?
Well, he said that...
Be specific.
be specific about every piece of B-roll I would get?
Well, be specific on how you would shoot it and what you would shoot and why you would shoot it.
Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would get a wide shot of the office from the outside because we're inside the office. And so I know that in the edit, probably what I'll have happen is I will show that wide shot of the office. It's a little windy outside today, so that works out nicely because I could just get a nice shot of outside the office. And right when Caleb starts talking about what we're doing, I put that under that shot of the office, and then I cut that, and okay, now maybe we're in the office. And then what I would probably do is, he also said it was a nice day outside, so we're doing this retroactively. I probably would have got a shot of the office before we came in here to do this.
True story.
Since we're doing it retroactively, I'm outside, I got a shot of the office. I'm probably going to get 4 shots of the office. I'm going to get a wide shot of the office. I'm going to get a shot. We've got a Copeland Creative sign out there. I'm going to get a shot of that. It's going to be dynamic. I'm going to be moving. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great.
And you're not going to shoot it straight on.
Right.
You very
I might pull focus
Yeah.
through the sign. I might get off to the side of the sign. I might there's some clouds outside, so I might pan down from the clouds to the office. I might get Caleb's truck is sitting out there, so maybe I'll get the truck. I'll get probably, I get a lot more than Caleb. Caleb probably is out there. He probably gets 3 shots, and he's like, boom, 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 done. I'll get 10, and I'll throw most of them away.
This is so true, yeah.
But I'll get all those shots. Then
maybe I should have done this version. Maybe you should have done the talking, and I should have shot the B-roll.
You wanted me to do it.
Go for it.
You won't have a shortage of it if I do it.
You see, I'm laid back in my chair waiting for you.
Yeah, it's like he's about to take a nap.
Yeah, just let me know when you're done shooting this 15-second scene.
You said we were bored in a tree. I ain't got nothing to do.
Yep, true story.
So then when I get done, he also said it's a beautiful day, so I'm going to get the shots of a beautiful day. That's going to be your sky. That's going to be maybe some close-ups of trees. It's going to be, I don't know, maybe we do a time lapse. Maybe I go and I keep that in mind, and when we're out in the field doing something, I get a nice pretty shot of some flowers because flowers make it seem like it's a nice day. I don't know. I get all of those things. I come inside. Now what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to get a wide shot of this whole setup, what we've got going on now. Then I'll probably get a tight shot of the camera. I'll get a tight shot of the board. I mean, there's little sound things moving right here. I'll get a tight shot of that. I'll get a tight shot of this coffee because probably we're sponsored by them. So we probably need that.
I wish.
I know. This is good stuff. This is espresso with cream. El creme. I don't know if that's how you say that, but whatever. I'll get a shot. I'll get a shot of that. Maybe I'll get a shot of the watch to show time of day. He's laid back right now, so I'll get some shots of how he's laid back. And then I'll get...
And the way that you're shooting these shots, to dive even deeper, we're not just getting, if you're watching on YouTube, we're not just getting a shot. We're probably going to push to the end of our lens. We're going to pull focus to where just the focus is on this number, and then we can roll focus into these levels. Mm-hmm. We're going to shoot at the end of our lens to get black rifle. That way everything behind it and in front of it's blurred. We're going to shoot things off to the side, from underneath, from above, from all the way around. You very rarely, I'm trying to think of a situation where I would shoot something straight on. I don't know of a situation where I'd shoot something straight on. Do you?
What do you mean by straight on?
Like straight on. Like everything's squared up to one another. I mean, virtually everything you do is at an angle, one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you're trying to get a nice
Even
flow.
In interviews, you might be shooting square on, but your subject is turned and off to the side. So nothing is ever straight on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, even when you shoot, like today when we shot interviews, instead of setting Chuck up 90 degrees to the camera, we had him go 45 so that he was facing... I don't know how to do this.
We put him on the left frame, so he was looking into the right side of the frame.
I was trying to do it to like how I'm sat right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not sat like, you can't, if you're listening, you can't see this. But this looks weird if I was to sit like this, kind of. This would be 90 degrees to the camera. And it just looks kind of odd. So you turn like this, I'm 45 degrees and it looks better. So technically it's not straight on.
So you're working angles all the time. So you're never, when you're shooting B-roll, and B-roll takes time. It's not something you can blow through. Now, somebody like Ryer and I that are super comfortable with our camera that shot thousands and thousands of B-roll shots, we can blow through B-roll pretty quick. But you need to take time and make these things dynamic. You try and make them this is what sets your production apart, is really good B-roll and having that B-roll. So he went through all those B-roll shots, and he's going to have 57 shots for 15 seconds.
It's going to be a lot.
What's he going to do? He's going to go through and he's going to pick the best of the best that works the best in the time frame that he needs to hide the edits. Say I talk for 5 minutes and he gets B-roll to support it, but he only needs 30 seconds of what I said. Well, how's he going to do that? Instead of making a bunch of jump cuts in the talking, he's got B-roll to cover all those shots. So it looks and sounds like I said this perfectly concise, seamless, piece of dialogue. Where in reality, it was a 5-minute ramble that he made me look really good, but he had B-roll to support that. One of two things is going to happen. You got to have the B-roll, or you got to be shooting on a second camera. You can make somebody look like a rock star if you've got 2 cameras on them.
Or you pull that old 115 trick.
115.
Yeah, that old scale, the 115 scale, that bump in.
Oh yeah, well, you can do that once or twice, but you don't want to do that too much. But yeah, so get the B-roll. Don't be lazy. You have the time to do it. And anytime there's downtime, you need to be shooting B-roll. Like I remember when we're on bow fishing trips and there's downtime, what am I shooting? I'm shooting products. I'm shooting the end of their arrow. I'm shooting their hands, their eyes, their gloves, their feet on the deck, the boat, the logos. Anytime there's downtime, that's what you're getting, is things to support what you're doing and to get you from one place to the other. You need B-roll clips. If you want to edit to beats, if you want to edit a fast-paced edit, you need lots and lots and lots of B-roll.
The other thing with B-roll, too, is I like to get that's where you really have an opportunity to be creative and try the different stuff and screw up the shots, but also get some of those shots that are cool and just maybe they take a couple tries, or it just takes doing something out of the box. And that's, I think, where getting dynamic is really fun, because instead of me just getting a shot of just a static shot of those bars moving, I might move this, right? Because now we're sitting here with nothing to do and I'm just filming. I might move this can and really punch in and blur out these bars, and instead of just getting a shot of this can, I will get a shot and then I'll pull focus over to those bars. Or maybe I will see how Caleb's texting right here? Instead of just getting a shot of his hands texting, I'm going to punch in to his hands while they're texting and move my camera. I'm just handheld. I'm going to move my camera up to his eyes. And so now I've basically chained 2 B-roll shots together, but it's dynamic because you're connecting Caleb to what he's doing right there. Or I would pan from, if it's a nice, it doesn't really work in here because there's not like a really cool nature scenery thing to do, but panning from something out in the location to your hunter, or pulling focus from the location back to your hunter, or going from the end of their barrel up to their eyes, or from their hands to their eyes, or, just putting camera movement, moving the camera, connecting different things to the scene, the hunter to the scene, the hunter to their weapon, the weapon to the scene, connecting all these things together and moving your camera and basically taking that viewer's eyes and just showing them everything. And it's not just this, because that's not how you look at things. Mm-hmm. When you're looking at things, you go over here and then you're looking that, and maybe your eyes wander over here, and I see him texting, and then I look at his eyes or his face, and then, I look over here, and maybe then I see the camera.
Look into my eyes. But what you were saying about connecting your viewer's eyes, what you want to do too, and we were talking about angles, and we're getting a little deeper in the weeds than I wanted to, but that's okay. And we might go into
That'll happen when you let me talk about things.
We might talk more about this too, but when we're shooting B-roll, not all B-roll is super, super tight. Sometimes it's medium, sometimes it's wide. But you want to change the viewer's eye. You don't want everything to look the same, everything medium, everything tight, everything wide. You want to have a really good mixture of that. That's why we talk about when we're getting shots, wide, medium, tight, wide, medium, tight, wide, medium, tight. That way you have options. So let's move on to the next thing.
We also got a question from Red Forest particularly about this, so
Okay,
I
go
guess
ahead.
we throw it in here.
Yeah, jump it.
Do we shoot B-roll at 24 FPS always, or do you go to 60 or 120, then convert it down if you're not doing any slow-mo shots? I think that, like, for what we were just doing, I probably wouldn't shoot much of that in anything but 24 because there just isn't anything moving fast enough to slow motion.
No.
But, yeah, I mean, if you're sitting in the tree and you're getting B-roll shots and you see a shot that would be cool in slow motion, then you get that in slow motion. And then maybe if
always speed it up if you need to.
Yeah, and if in the edit you don't like it and you want to speed it up, then you can. But I don't default to slow motion to speed it up. I default to regular unless I see a shot that I know would be interesting in slow motion.
Yeah, I shoot less high speed now than I have. I have pretty much every camera we have now will shoot high speed. I shoot less high speed footage now than I ever have. By far. I remember when we first got high speed cameras, it's always shot. Man, that'd be cool in slow motion. Slow motion. Man, that'd be cool in slow motion. We shoot in slow motion. The more I have it, the less I use it.
Well, I think you just get to editing it and you kind of go.
Oh, it's so boring.
You can see there's things that are cool in slow motion because they happen quickly.
I love kills in slow motion. I shoot as many kills as I can in slow motion. I like those.
Those and things moving fast, or if there's a lot of things happening in the frame,
yeah,
or stuff that you just don't really get to ever see in slow motion, that's pretty cool in slow motion. But there's also something to be said for regular motion. And I just did this on the turkey thing you were talking about. You were talking about how, wow, my mind just completely ran away from me there.
Wow.
That'll happen. ADHD.
I watched that leave too. Like I watched it just leave you.
ADHD is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it is.
The point of my thing was my B-roll for that turkey hunt was handheld and shaky on purpose.
Yeah.
I added camera shake. Like I shook the camera while I was filming it because I wanted it to be shaky.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 100% the opposite of slow motion.
Yep.
Slow motion, you want it to be smooth.
Silky,
and it just
silky smooth.
The way that scene played out, it was so fast and it was so on the move that I kind of took a risk with it. Like when we're in the field, I was kind of like, in my head this works, but in the editing room, I may cause myself a headache. But I shot the whole thing purposefully like that, and that wouldn't work in slow motion. You have to do that in regular motion because if not, you just don't get that same visceral shaky feeling you get from regular motion just moving the camera around.
And it needed to feel chaotic, so you made it chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so recapping, we've still got two more to talk about, but number one, two more to talk about. Number one is establishing shots. Number two is talking in the field, how, why, and the better ways to shoot it. Number three was B-roll, and now the fourth one is cutaways. Another thing that we are not getting that is another thing that's like, how do you not get this? Is cutaways. How do you not get cutaways?
I guess by not getting them.
I can understand how you can get in the heat of the moment. And this is all, like I said, this is all coming from Ryan and I editing someone else's footage. And there's nothing more frustrating and nothing I hate more than editing someone else's footage. But when someone shoots an animal, when something significant happens, and you as a producer are filming an animal or a situation happen, and you're not getting all the little details of your hunter or your subject, then we have to go back and recreate those things. Okay, so what are we talking about? The easiest way to explain this is on a hunt. We're going to talk about turkey since it was turkey season. You got a turkey gobbling on the limb. You watch him fly down, and as a producer, I'm following the turkey. I'm on the turkey the whole time. The turkey's on. He's coming in. He comes the decoys. He jumps on the decoys. We tell our hunter to kill him. They kill him. Okay. As a producer, I was on that turkey the whole time. As soon as I saw that turkey, I never left him. My camera was recording the entire time until that turkey was dead on the ground. And then the first thing I do is go to my hunter for reaction. The first thing I do after that turkey's dead is go to my hunter for reaction. Okay. Now, what do I do when my reaction is done? The very next thing that I'm going to do before my hunter gets up to do a recovery is I'm going to shoot cutaways. Why? Because I want the light to be the same. I still want there to be emotion. I want all of those things to still be there. The very next thing is I'm going to shoot cutaways. Some people call them recreates. Some people call them cutaways. I don't care what you call them. You need to get them. All right. Some people have problem with cutaways because they're fake or they're staged or they're whatever. If you don't like fake cutaways, if you don't like recreates, then you better be shooting a second angle camera that gets it live. If you don't, shoot cutaways, because what we are filming, what we are doing is we're telling a story, and what we're doing is entertainment. All of those things that we shot as cutaways happened. We are just telling the best version of the story. If we can't get them live, we still have to get them. That makes me so mad when people don't like to see cutaways because it didn't really happen that way. Yes, it did. I just couldn't film that because I was filming the turkey.
You can only film one thing at a time.
You can only film one thing at a time, yes. Unless
the turkey's not going to be there.
Unless you have a second producer. Like when we were in Florida, Clay and I were both shooting, and I had Clay shooting live cutaways. He was on the hunter, and he was on the hunter the entire time. As the turkey's coming in, he films the hunter pull the trigger. So he had live cutaways the whole time. Very rarely does that ever happen.
Did you still go do cutaways after the fact?
I still did cutaways.
Yep.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never not going to do cutaways.
Yeah.
So I might have done less cutaways, but I still did them. So what is a cutaway? A cutaway is all the things that happened while you were filming that turkey, all the things your hunter did. There he is. Here he comes. He's on the decoys. Are you ready? I'm going to shoot him. Flipping off the safety, going to putting the finger in the trigger guard, tights at the eyes, watching the turkey come in, reaction of how the turkey's acting, the calling. Anything that happened while that turkey was coming in, I'm now going to put my camera on my hunter, and I'm going to get them to go through everything that happened. Are we going to fake it or are we going to embellish it? We're going to try our best to do it as true to what happened as we possibly can. How do we shoot cutaways? We're going to shoot them super tight. We're going to try and do them dynamically, just like we do talking, just like we do B-roll. I like to shoot cutaways handheld. I don't like to put them on a tripod. I like to shoot really tight to the eyes, really tight to the finger flipping off safety or clipping in a release. I like to change my angle. I like to, look down the action of the gun to my hunter. I like to rack focus. I like to do all those things that are going to suck you in as a viewer. Now, these clips, when they make the edit, they're going to be maybe 3 seconds long. Some of them shorter than that. But I'm going to have 5 to 15 different options. Because now when I have 5 or 15 cutaway options, if it takes 20 minutes for that turkey to get there to us, guess what? If I have 5 to 15 cutaway options, I can get that turkey killed in 30 seconds or 30 minutes. I can do it as quickly or or as long as I need it to be. But if I don't have those cutaways, all I'm doing is jump cutting the whole time. And there's no excuse not to get those cutaways. I generally, 95% of the time, my cutaways are tight. Don't try not to shoot cutaways wide because there's no emotion in that. I mean, and don't be afraid to get in their grill. Like I'm up on top of Chuck and Brian and people when I'm shooting cutaways. I mean, I'm in their face.
I regularly have, especially with bow hunting, which I guess is what we do 90% of the time.
Yeah.
I will regularly have people's arms or like a release or something hit me or the camera as they're pulling up or drawing back, just because I'm so into the camera and I have this shot that I want and I can't see where that lens is and I'm so close that it gets hit.
And you only have one eye, so you have to really.
I got 2 eyes, but they go like this. So
I had to do that. I'm sorry.
But the point of that is I'm so close to them that I regularly am just hitting them with the camera, basically.
Yeah. Oh, I've had that happen many times.
I mean, that happens all the time.
All the time.
But especially with B-rolls and cutaways, because there's no – and try this. This is a fun little experiment. Go and shoot something where I'm this far, zoomed in, and getting that, the same exact shot except for I'm zoomed in. Then shoot the same – get right up in his face and do it. The emotion and the feeling is completely different.
Yeah.
Because the camera is that close. When you zoom in, it changes the entire feel of that shot.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't explain that. And you can only kind of feel it when you watch it. But it's a whole different emotion when the camera is actually literally right in their face.
Yep.
And again, this is another place where I like to do those dynamic shots where you go from one thing to the other, you know, like where you say, okay, I'm going to kill him. So when he says that, I might be on his face, or I've done a couple of these and they worked out kind of cool, just like right on their mouth, only their mouth. You can only see their mouth there. And they're like,
yeah,
okay, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as they say that, I'm going to kill him, you pan down and then have them flipping the safety off.
Yeah.
That usually takes some direction. Usually what has to happen is you have to go, okay, this is a shot I'm going to do. I'm going to pan from your face to you flipping off the safety. Don't flip off the safety until I say go.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to say this line, and then when I say go, flip off the safety. So let them say the line, start panning. When I get the safety in frame, then I say go, and then they do it, and you just have to cut out you saying go in the B-roll.
Yup.
But that's where those dynamic shots come into play.
And there's just watch a good hunting show. Watch any good piece of content that's going to have recreation. And watch how they shot it. Don't take what we're saying as gospel. Do your own research. But most of everything out there sucks. So
get in people's face with the camera.
Yeah, don't be afraid to get in there.
Do it.
And don't be afraid to ask people to do things over. Don't be afraid to, if you have an idea, to speak your mind and voice your opinion. Make sure that if you have an idea that you see it through. And most of the time they suck. You know, you'll go through and you'll do something like, didn't like it. But at least you tried it. Rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. Last but not least is transitions. So we've talked about transitions. What is a transition? It is any shot that can get me from day to day, day to night, place to place, hunt to hunt. Anything that gets me subconsciously from one lake location or time to another location or time. Okay, so some examples. Okay, we're going to go hunting, and we're going to have to drive to the stand. Well, in one shot, how do I get from camp to the stand? We get a shot of a GoPro shot of riding the Ranger down the road. That's transitions. How do we get from day to night? A night lapse that comes up with the next shot, the sun rising. We didn't have to say, well, the next day, or we're going to go, we're waiting until the next morning. That night lapse of the stars tells me it's nighttime. Make sure you're getting shots that get you from one place to the other. There's no one perfect example of what a transition shot is. And there's a lot of times that you can repurpose shots as transition shots. But you've got to consciously go into the field, into your shooting situation, and know, okay, I've got to get from point A to point B. How can I get one shot that tells that story? It's a driving shot. Boom, get that. It's a night lapse. Boom, get that. It's a walking away shot. Boom, get that. It's a walking towards me shot. Boom, get that. It's tires rolling down the road. Get that. It's a day lapse that passes time. Get that. There's no right or wrong way to get transitions. Just know when you go to edit and you need to spend, say nothing happens between day 3 and day 6, you have a terrible time. Say you're there for 7 days. First 3 days are great. Day 4 and day 5 sucked. But you kill on day 7. And we're not going to edit everything in day 4 and 5 because you're just wasting your time. Well, what are ways that I can virtually skip from day 3 to day 5? Well, I can say it in voiceover, yeah. I can say it in an interview, yeah. Or I can do a long day lapse that transitions into a night lapse that gets me right into day 5. I can do it with text. I can do it with so many different ways, but I would rather you show me than tell me. Thoughts on transitions?
If it's something that you would say, get a shot of it.
Yeah, I guess that would be a simpler way of putting it. Yeah, if it's something you would say, if there's a way that you can get a shot to take away from something you would say, then get the shot. I think you should say it as well if it's in the field, not in voiceover or interviews. If it's something that you can say in the field, but you can also get a shot of it, I would rather you use the shot than the top. Well, I guess it depends on the situation.
Just depends on the edit, but you don't have to. If you do a sunset time lapse, I mean, or you don't have to say it doesn't even have to
be
the day ended.
It doesn't even have to be a time lapse. It can just be a shot of the sun going down.
Yeah.
A 3-second shot of the sun going down. I mean, that's a transition shot.
Yeah, with a fade to black at the end.
That tells me the day's ending or the day's beginning, if it's a sunrise or sunset. Just depends on where you put it in the edit.
Yeah. I think you just always want to show what you tell and tell what you show.
Yep. So, that's transitions. To go over everything again, establishing shots, talking in the field, and we talked about how to shoot that. B-roll, cutaways, and transitions. Those are the 5 things that will make your hunting filming better. That's not the only things. Those are just the easiest ones. Those are the very basics and bare bones. Do a good job of those 5 things and kill some stuff, and learn how to edit, and you'll have a really, really solid product on your hands. Sorry, plural, hands. So that's all I got for the podcast. Now you want to do some questions? Have we gotten any questions? Do we need to ask for questions?
Yeah. Do you want to do it on the podcast or you want to do it YouTube Live exclusive?
We'll do YouTube Live exclusive, and we're going to do another one tomorrow. So
on the road again.
It'll be on Instagram though, because we're going to be driving because we can't YouTube stream
again. There we go. That's better. Okay. That was the right tune.
Yeah, that was okay. All right. So all right, we're going to end the podcast.
But if you're on YouTube Live, don't leave because we are sticking around
to do your
to
questions.
Hang out.
Yes. And if we have some good ones, we'll put them on the next podcast or whatever. But if you enjoyed the podcast, guys, please spread the word. We've got a couple new people trickling in that liking it and they're talking to us about it. Always feel free to ask questions. That's what we're here for. Make sure to rate, review, leave us a comment. And it's like I said, tell someone about it. But if you review us on iTunes, it helps get the word out to some more people that might need some help as well. We all know that the industry needs definitely a kick in the butt real bad. So the more new blood that gets in here, the better it's going to get for everybody. And we're about promoting the business of outdoor content creation versus just ourselves. So make sure you do that. If you have somebody you want us to talk to, let us know. If you have really anything that you think that we should know about or talk about or have an opinion on, let us know, because we've got an opinion on a lot of stuff. Good, bad, or indifferent, we have opinions.
A lot of opinions.
We're working on a big project. When we get a signed contract, we will let you guys know what that is. And Blue Stem is coming out soon. I don't think it's actually going to air now till August. I talked to the Mossy Oak Go guys yesterday, and they're not going to start airing waterfowl blocks until August, very beginning of August. So that one's going to, that one will get done. I thought it would be done and out by now, but hadn't happened yet. So, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No.
Sweet. Peace, guys. All right, we're back.
I see you remembered to do the outro this time.
Yeah, it really pissed me off last time I forgot to do that.
That's so funny.
God, it made me so mad. It was like 5 extra minutes on the computer, but it was just 5 minutes I didn't want to give it that day. God, he's making me so mad.
You tried to salvage it by doing it again.
Yeah, I'm so dumb.
All right, so if you are here, drop some questions. We are going from the top of the list of questions in the comments down.
Have you gotten some?
Yeah, we've been getting them throughout the podcast.
Good.
But I didn't want to interrupt the flow, so I have just been holding them until the end. 8th and 9. Noise. I said that's. I'm sorry, guys.
That was
Sometimes
incredibly loud in my
sometimes
ears.
I get a little excited, get a little weird when I'm on the podcast. I would say I'm not like this always, but that's a lie. I kind of am sometimes. Caleb can attest to it. Am I like this always, Caleb? I mean, when I'm not madder than heck at my computer.
Or at the producer that we're editing.
Or anything.
Like I have been.
As a ginger, I have a short fuse. I'll get real pissed real fast. But it's not so pissed that I'll like cause damage to the computer. But it sounds real bad. It sounds not so fun. So the first question we got was from Clay, our boy Clay.
What's Clay trying to start today?
He said something.
Is he trying to actually ask a good question?
Yeah, he asked a good question.
About freaking time, Clay. Good God.
Ryer needs to run through his color grading process for S-Log. I can. I don't.
We haven't shot anything in S-Log in a while, have we?
Yeah, Blue Stem.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess you could go through one of those.
So
you can do a little redneck tech video for that one day. When we go through to make those fixes, you can do that. Which that might be a month from now, but
yeah,
it might be when you finally get calmed down enough to do it.
I will never be calm enough. I'll hate that whole thing.
Oh, God.
I'll hate it so much. So disclaimer: this is just what I did for this video. This is the Redneck Tech Podcast. I am in no way a color grading specialist. I have done no training besides watching YouTube videos and Googling things. I'm sure my methods and my workflow is probably a hodgepodge of different stuff, and I'm sure it's probably not the recommended way, but it got pretty good results. Yeah. So as far as anybody's concerned, it looks pretty good. I'm a perfectionist, so there's a couple things that I'm still trying to work on with it. But essentially, the workflow is this. So we shoot an S-Log, and then when I bring it, gosh, I may actually have to look at a timeline so I can actually look at exactly what the changes are in the adjustment layers that I'm doing. But this is hard to explain without a timeline. So say you've got an S-Log clip. What I do is I bring that in. I edit everything. I don't put a correction LUT over the top while I'm editing just because I'm the only one who needs to see it. So then when I start into the color grading process, I found a correction LUT that is specifically tailored to bring log footage back to the Rec 709 space. I'm going to go through this assuming that y'all know LUTs and log and 709. That's a lot to get into, so I won't get into all those details right this second. But basically, I make an adjustment layer, and I put that LUT on the adjustment layer over the entire timeline that's bringing that really flat log footage back into a Rec 709 space. And then from there, wait, I mess it up. I do use that, but that's the last step. And it's hard to like visualize. So you've got the clip. And
you just do a video.
You've got the clip. I'm sorry. I'm real sorry. Please,
we're starting. So Clay,
we're starting here.
Problem and didn't even mean to create a problem.
It's really hard to talk about this without showing you the timeline.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna start from here. You've got the clip. It's not graded. There's nothing over the top of it. So what I will do is I will make that adjustment layer. That adjustment layer is the topmost layer on my timeline, and that's going to be what brings that S-Log into the 709. Okay, so that's the top layer on the timeline because that's the last effect that I want to have happen on that footage. Now, one layer underneath that, I put another adjustment layer. In that adjustment layer, I put a creative LUT. So that's what gives it kind of a little bit of punch, gives it a little look. That's going to be what,
stylistically.
That's going to be your stylistic LUT.
Yeah.
Now, with both of those on there, I lock both of those layers, and then I go through clip by clip, and I edit the actual clip's color in Lumetri. And I basically do that just like you would anything else, just to make them look nice. And the reason that I do it in that order is because as I'm grading, I can see what the clip looks like with the style and with the conversion from log to 709. And the reason I want that log to 709 conversion to be the last step is because I want to edit with as much data, as much information as I can before it converts, before it essentially compresses that color from log to 709. And that's basically it. And then on the blue stem, I know it took me 30 minutes to go over this. And then on the blue stem one, I put a grain overlay, a 35 millimeter grain overlay over the top of all that because I wanted to grit it up a little bit.
I wanted it to feel dirty and gritty.
Yeah, so that's kind of the workflow. I'm sorry if that was not the best way of answering that.
No, I'm sure there's nobody left. No one's left.
Nobody dropped off. So you can see what I'm doing here.
Well, I just read on, which I don't know how I feel about this, and this is way off topic, but Joe Rogan is moving his podcast to Spotify.
Boom. I read that when I was in the bathroom earlier.
Why?
I bet it's because Spotify knows that, because he wasn't on Spotify before. And
he exclusive to Spotify. He's not going to be on. Is he still going to be on the other platforms?
No.
That's bull crap.
But you know why Spotify did that? It's Spotify. They probably paid him a pretty good sum of money because they knew that people are not going to Spotify because Rogan was not. That I don't listen to them on Spotify because
I don't want to listen to it on Spotify. It pisses me off. I don't want.
Well, no, I think it may.
Why are there so many platforms? It makes me so mad. It stresses me out. All right, next question.
Anyways, I'll do a video on it so I can actually show you the layers and I can show you.
It will be a 3-hour video.
It will be. Of course it will. Look, everybody. If you ask me a question, if you ask me a question, it's going to take me 3 times longer to answer it than Caleb because one.
Are my answers bad though?
No.
Okay, good.
I feel like you answer better than me. I feel like people ask me a question and then I just like spew all this information and it's just ADHD rambling and it all makes sense in my head, but it's just too much. Where if you ask Caleb a question, he's like, done, easy. The simplest answer that gets the solution.
I wish it was that easy. All right, next one.
Is the live streaming raw since it looks so flat? No, it's in that flat 709 profile. We're not
sure why it looks like that. We're still trying to figure that out. We're still working out the kinks on the live thing.
Well, I think we can load more color grading. I think we can I think we can load a LUT into an SD card and put it in the camera.
Yeah, but is it going to make the stream look better?
That's the only other thing that I can think to do. I imagine it's got to.
I think we're just going to get one of those movies and be done with it.
No. If we figure this out the right way, it'll look really great.
All right. Next one.
Ethan Tyne, can you go into bookending with a song?
Oh, well, you don't really bookend with a song as much as when you edit, you don't ever just fade a song out. You don't ever just cut it and then just fade it out, crossfade out. You always take the end of a song or a section of the song that sounds like the song is ending, and you cut that into the beats of the song to end the song. And when a song ends, everyone knows subconsciously what a song ending sounds like. And subconsciously, when that song ends, we automatically know that the scene is ending, the day is ending, the time is ending, the show is ending, whatever is happening. Just because of that sound, that music ending, that subconsciously is telling your viewer everything you need to know. And that is bookending your scene or your show or your location. That is what we mean by using sound or music to bookend. Really.
So, kill a song. Yeah, bookending a song basically means you're just...
Yeah, and you don't ever just crossfade a song out. Don't do that. That's cheap. That's lazy. You always end a song. And I have done a tutorial on that on the Redneck Tech YouTube channel, and I could probably need to do a video just about that, which I actually probably could do that in just a minute because I'm going to be doing that in a little bit. So
I mean, that's a thing that I do
all the time,
all day.
You
end a song. I mean, and you.
You remember I'll never forget the first time I saw somebody end a song, like cut it and end it, like fix it, and I'm like, oh, never thought about that. Because I'd always pull in songs in like 3 minutes, but I only need it for a minute, and it's like, oh, we'll just cut it and just crossfade. No, that's good. Nope.
Yeah,
that was the mind blown moment for me, but it's so easy.
Mine was that, and then like realizing that you didn't have to use the song how it plays.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be a slave to how the song is structured as far as like how long that opener is, how long it takes to get to the chorus, or maybe you don't like this verse and that one, you just cut it out, move to the next one.
Yep.
I mean, and songs are nice because
it's just a puzzle. A song is just like an edit. They're built-in blocks. You can just move the blocks around to fit whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But that's in the advanced class.
What music library do you recommend? I used 2 separate libraries just today.
Yeah, I have used, I don't know, man, so many libraries. It all depends on your budget and what the project has a budget for. There's some really inexpensive libraries like Artlist, SoundCloud, Epidemic Sound. I think there's another one out now. I don't remember what it's called. But those are really easy.
Soundstripe?
I said Soundstripe.
Did you?
I think I did. But those are some really easy ones, and those are good for beginners. I mean, we even use those as well. And then there's some really expensive ones that you have to negotiate, contracts for, like First Com, Extreme Music, Stephen Arnold, Sonic Librarian. There's a bunch of them. All of them have they're good and they're bad. Some of them are going to have a better library than others. Some of them are going to be more expensive. Some are going to be cheaper. Some have really good ways of searching for music. Others have, when you go to search for music, you can search by mood, by genre, by instrument, by beats per minute, by song title, by, there's music library, man. You can really go down a rabbit hole of music, but what you need to figure out is what your budget is, and then go from there. It's just like anything else. It all depends on how much money you want to spend, because the more money you got, the better the music you can get.
Red Forest asks, what podcast soundboard do we use? This one.
The Rodecaster. It is the only option. And I didn't get it on my own. I actually was on Cleared Hot with Andy Stumpf, and he had this board. And I did a podcast with him at his house. And it was so easy and user-friendly and sounded really good straight out of, he's like, I didn't do anything. He's like, I plugged it in and turned the levels up, and this is how it sounded. And that's pretty much all I did. I think they're like $500 or $600. I actually, because you know me, found this one used, very barely used. I bought it for $400 off eBay. Because that's how I roll. I don't buy anything new. And it is idiot-proof. Literally idiot-proof. But it's called the Rodecaster, and it's really awesome. Super user-friendly.
We like it.
Yep.
To preset or not to preset? How often do you use presets in Lightroom? Caleb, how often do you use them?
I never have used a preset in Lightroom.
I use my own preset.
Oh, you created your own. What a nerd.
Well, hold on. Because I'm complicated.
You are extra. You're like a woman. You're extra. Big time.
Hey, I get results.
Yeah, but you've got your mobile Lightroom catalog and your other Lightroom catalog. My Lightroom is a freaking disaster.
Well, so I'll read the rest of the preset, then I'll tell you what I do. And are they presets you made or ones you downloaded? Okay. Caleb doesn't use them at all. So neither.
I'm all manual, baby.
I know they're quick to use, but do you feel like you have cheapened your work using presets, or is it a simple workflow solution for you? So
I do batch edit like a madman.
He's insane. Certifiably insane. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he goes, ba-doop, export.
Dude,
and doesn't look at every single one of them and tweak it.
Can't do it. I don't have time for that. I don't have the patience for it.
I become physically ill if forced to do that. So this is how my preset workflow goes.
You know what we should do?
What?
You should take pictures and let me edit them.
I do that. You have edited my pictures.
I know, but like for something big.
And they aren't edited how I want in my head.
And I want to make you sit in the corner in a straitjacket and watch.
At least I wouldn't have to be in the straitjacket very long, 5 minutes.
That's so mean.
I mean, if
it would be worse for me.
If you're gonna have to be in a straitjacket watching somebody edit, I'd much rather be in a straitjacket watching him edit than be in a straitjacket watching me edit.
You're gonna be there a minute with Ryer.
Yeah. So more color grading workflows with Ryer.
Yeah.
I do have a preset that I made myself. I call it. This is literally how it's named in my computer. RY import preset, because that's for Ryer's import preset. See what I did there?
Your name schemes, man. You should do an entire podcast just on your naming scheme.
Will you quit? God dang. Never says anything to me about this, and then as soon as we get on a podcast, God, he tears me up about it.
It's hilarious.
But I don't lose things.
No, you don't.
And we know exactly what it is.
Yeah, this is true.
But you also don't lose things, and you know exactly what it is,
don't
too.
say that out loud, man.
That's true.
Oh, man.
So basically, that preset that's basically like a correction preset for me. I basically have the contrast bumped up. I have some clarity added in there. I have the whites up, the blacks down. I have dual tone. I've got a dual tone set that I usually like to have. And then that's about all. So basically all that's doing is when I bring it into Lightroom, it's just giving it a little bit of punch immediately, and then I go through and I color each of them individually. So, I mean, yeah, it's a preset, but it's not like a preset that I set and then just lay it over and export it. I mean, it's just there to give me like a nice starting point. And sometimes I clear the preset because it doesn't look good at all on the picture, and then I just start from zero. And I don't know. Do I feel like it's cheapened your work using presets? I just feel like each picture is kind of individual, and I have a hard time with putting the same thing on every picture because it just never. I think each picture kind of needs something a little bit different. But does it cheapen it? I don't really think so. I mean, it depends. If you've got 700 pictures to edit, then
you're gonna be batching, son.
Yeah, and I do batch in, not like Caleb does, but like if I have a bunch of pictures that
you said that with such disdain.
Well, it's just a little bit because I still will go into each one.
Yeah.
But
I do too. I mean, I still go and spot check them, but I don't.
So if I'm like Sunday, I went and shot some pictures at the lake, and so we shot. I think there was 5 different knives I had to shoot pictures of, and I would put each of these knives in a certain setup, and then I'd take a picture, swap the knife, and so I would edit the first picture of that series, and then I would copy it and paste those settings onto the next one. And sometimes I'd have to tweak them a little bit, but it took a lot less time because I wasn't starting from scratch for the next one. So if they're all kind of the same or the lighting's the same, then yeah, you can definitely kind of batch edit that way.
Mm-hmm.
I know people like to buy the presets. I just never have. I never really feel like I want to pay somebody for a preset like that. Any other questions? We'll hang out for a minute, see if anybody's got any other questions.
God, it's already 5:30. I've got so much editing to do.
Yeah. I've got a whole segment that I was trying to get done. So I'm going to have to get that done. Should go pretty quick. What camera bag do you use for your photo equipment?
I don't use any bags, really. We use majority of everything we use is Pelican cases. We've got a room full of Pelican cases back there, but we do have a what kind of bag is that? Your blue one? We've got a Cine bag. I don't remember what the
blue
model
one?
number is. The blue one that your camera's back there.
Oh, I don't know what that one is.
It's a porter
brace?
porter brace camera bag. It's for an old ENG camera, but I bought it a long time ago, and it's nice for like just putting it in your back seat or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But 90% of the time we're in Pelican cases, just because I know it's dry, I know it's safe. It's just peace of mind. And with our Diamondbacks, we can just strap them onto the back of the bed cover and roll. Yeah, I'm not worried about them.
Yeah. I guess we just use Sitka packs. I mean, whatever hunting pack is usually whatever the camera gets thrown in.
We usually we have to make things work just because, I mean, we've got a bunch of bags and stuff back there, but I don't really have a bag that I'm just like, oh, I love this bag. I mean, I'm more of a Pelican guy myself. They're heavier and bulkier, but quit being a sissy.
We should do a photo contest where we can download a picture and then edit and repost it. Winner gets decal and a hat. We have thought about that. We've thought about a couple of different
We've thought about an editing one.
Contest.
We've thought about a photo one, but
the problem is here's the thing that happens is as soon as we think about this, all of a sudden the universe is like, oh man, they're starting to think about doing things for Redneck Tech, and then we just get swamped with client work.
Yeah, which is good.
Which is very good. But for some reason, doesn't it feel like that?
Yeah.
For some reason? It's we it's almost like we put those ideas, we start talking about those ideas, then all of a sudden we just get a whole ton of work. So, yeah, I think we will do that to some degree whenever we get a little bit of time to kind of figure out how that's going to look and which pictures to do and organize it. I guess it doesn't take that much work, but
no, not really, but it takes time, and time is what we don't have enough of.
Red Forest says, go edit, Caleb. Yeah, Caleb, go edit. What are you doing? Just sitting around here,
I know.
Not editing?
I'm going through.
On your phone?
Yep.
What are you doing over there? Head to workout, boys. I'm here now. Dead Reckoning Media. You have a knack for tuning in.
Just showing
literally at the very end.
Last 2 minutes.
The very end. If you have a question, send it our way now. We're about to hop off. So, Dead Reckoning Media, last shot. It's coming down to the wire. I know it's 30 seconds behind, so I guess we just have to sit here until he hears that. I wonder is there a way that you can fix that? I hope he had a good workout.
Yeah, there's a way on OBS that you can change the lag time to less lag, but it makes it kills the quality some more, I think.
Everything kills the quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got Elon Musk talking about artificial intelligence, putting chips in people's brains within a year, but we can't have good cell phone service or good internet connections. I just don't see how that's possible.
He is editing on his phone secretly in Lightroom Mobile. Is that what you're doing over there, Caleb?
Me?
Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm doing.
That's my secret little Instagram story.
No, if I have
my
to
Instagram
edit,
story trick.
If I have to edit on my phone, I get real pissed. This phone's tiny, or phone's so little compared to your computer monitor. No, you won't catch me editing on my phone.
I do my Instagram stories
on my phone. One of my buddies told me the other day, say, hey, in the DJI app with your drone, you can edit videos in there. And I was like, didn't know that. He's like, man, you don't edit yours in there? No, buddy, I don't.
You can do it on the GoPro one too. The GoPro has an auto edit. I tried it out one time just to see what it would do, and I was like, okay, job security. The AI has not quite mastered the art of editing yet because it was real bad.
Who?
So the GoPro app.
Oh.
GoPro app will auto edit from your footage. So it didn't do a good job, so I've still got a job until they figure that one out. All right. Dead Reckoning says, no more questions. See y'all on the next one.
All righty.
That's an hour and 44 minutes and 20 seconds. Yep.
Holy crap.
So that's a long podcast right there.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, appreciate you guys. Well, we're going to be doing a live one tomorrow on Instagram on our drive to Virginia. So what time are we doing that?
I don't know. What time are we doing that?
Say 11. 10 or 11, something like that.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah, we'll make a post in the morning or tonight or something. All right, fellas. Peace. Where's the power button?